Hey everybody, Ace Liam here, and if you haven't noticed, Generation 8's on the way. Pokemon Sword and Shield have been revealed, and that absolutely has sent a buzz through the Pokemon community. The Pokemon community is alive and well, as we knew it would be around this time of year, and it's absolutely amazing. And of course, the starter Pokemon have been revealed, which means that the topic of starter Pokemon is on the tip of everybody's tongue at the moment. Everybody's discussing which starter they're going to pick for Pokemon Sword and Shield, but also it gets you wondering which Pokemon starter is the best one of them all. Now, just in case you haven't already watched it, and I'll link it down in the description so you can go and check it out for yourself, Hoodlum Callum, my good friend, did a video talking about his favorite starter Pokemon. So from each generation, listing which starter Pokemon is his favorite, his second favorite, and his third favorite, and then also listing out of the number one slot for each generation, which one was his favorite starter overall. And he tagged me in the video, so of course I'm going to go through and I'm going to go through my favorites. It's nice and simple, nice and straightforward. Apart from this intro section that's going to be a little bit edited, I am going to do what Callum did and just boom, go straight in, just a live little chat with you guys about the starters, about what I think of them, and about, you know, just explaining my reasoning for why I would position each of them on the list. Now, what I'm going to do at the end of this video is I'm going to tag 3 other Pokemon YouTubers who may not have already done this themselves. I'm hoping they haven't already been tagged at least, so that they can do it. But what I will do is, if you want to do this yourself, I'm not going to put the template that I'm using in the description down below. I'm going to put a link to Callum's video that has it in the description so you can go and watch his video, because I think it's important that we show respect for the person who created the tag. Without further ado, let's have a look at what my favorite starter Pokemon from each generation are. Let's jump right in. So okay, let's start from the beginning. Let's start where it all began back in the day. Let's start with Generation 1. This already irks me. I know obviously this has been put in order of grass, fire, water just for ease of use, but no. Bulbasaur, you don't go there, mate. You go here. That's where you belong. Then the difficulty here is Squirtle and Charmander. Because I mean, my reason for Bulbasaur being so low is I've never cared for it. It's a fine Pokemon. It's kind of cute, but it's not the cutest. I don't really care for Venusaur at all. Like, Venusaur just bores me. Ivysaur's a cool Pokemon and very cool. Like, Ivysaur, a lot of people have found Ivysaur to be a very popular character in Smash. I just don't like the Bulbasaur line, and I never have. I didn't like Ash's Bulbasaur. I just didn't find it an interesting character, and so Bulbasaur for me is just out. I don't like Bulbasaur, and I don't see anything changing that. With Charmander and Squirtle, it's a very different story, because Squirtle's really cute, Charmander's really cute. They're both kind of cool. This isn't really a particularly strict format either, so for those wondering like how I'm ranking these, it's literally just what I think of like the line overall, I guess, is the way to go. So although some of them might be just because I like the initial starter Pokemon, whether I like its evolved forms, it's just whatever reasons I can think of that I want to use for these. But with Charmander and Squirtle, they both have cool middle evolutions, they both have cool final evolutions, that both have cool mega evolutions, but I just don't know. There are days where I really like Squirtle, and then there are other days where I really like Charmander. But then there are days where I don't like either of them, I guess, sometimes. It's really difficult. I can't really choose between the two of them, but I think I'm going to go with Squirtle at the top. I'm going to put Squirtle number 1. Because it does have a special place for me, because my first ever Pokemon in a Pokemon game was back in 1999, Pokemon Blue, and it was Squirtle. So Squirtle has just that little bit more of a nostalgic connection with me than Charmander does. So I'd say they're very, very equal if we're just going on my opinions of them, Squirtle versus Charmander. But Squirtle just has that edge because I've used it for longer, I've cared about it for longer, I guess. That'll be my Gen 1. That's going to be Gen 1 for me, I reckon. But okay, so next up is Generation 2, the Johto starters. We've got Chikorita, Cyndaquil, and Totodile. This is a really similar situation to Gen 1, actually, because Chikorita I just don't care for. I like Meganium, and I like Bayleaf to an extent, but they're really plain Pokemon. There isn't a lot to them. Whereas I feel like Cyndaquil and Totodile have bags of character. Like, they're great Pokemon. And obviously their final forms, like Typhlosion's a badass, Quilava's kind of cute, Croconaur's great, Feraligatr is also a very, very cool Pokemon, especially like Dragon Dance and Ice Fang and Waterfall and all that. Choosing between these two is hard because, again, these are both really cute Pokemon for starters as well. So it's not as easy as just being like, oh, this one's cuter than this one. Let's put that further up the list. It's really, oh Jesus. I think I'm more likely to use a Sheer Force for Ralligator than I am to use a Flash Fire. Is it Flash Fire, the hidden ability of the Cyndaquil line? I think it is. So I'm more likely to use a Sheer Force for Alligator than I am a Flash Fire Typhlosion. And Cyndaquil, yeah, do you know what? I kind of find Typhlosion, appearance-wise, to be a little bit boring, especially since the newer games came out, because obviously in the older games where Pokemon were just sprites, Typhlosion would always have the fire coming out of its shoulders and look really menacing. But then they kind of went with a dose of realism in the Generation 6 and onward games, where Typhlosion and Cyndaquil and Quilava wouldn't have their flames out unless they were using a move, because that's how they actually would exist in the Pokemon world, which makes them look kind of boring as far as Pokemon go. So I guess that edges Totodile to the top, because Feraligatr still remains an interesting Pokemon. And it's still got bags of personality, whereas Typhlosion in a Gen 6 and onward game just stands there, just looking like a honey badger on its hind legs, and it's kind of boring. Plus, I've used Totodile and Croconaw a lot more, and actually, in my Pokemon Gym video that I did a year or so back, maybe a couple of years ago now, yeah, because it was, oh, that would have been before Sun and Moon came out, wouldn't it? Because we didn't know that trials were a thing. It must be before that. I had a gym with a Croconaw, so because I think I had Croconaw, Sharpedo, or Carvana, and I think a Weasel or a Floatzel. I can't remember specifically. Someone that's watched that video recently, let me know in the comments below what I picked for that. But I know Croconaw was on my team because I know it's under like level 30. Let's see. So let's go with Gen 3. I think that's good positioning for Gen 2. Gen 3. Oh boy, here we go. I'm really predictable in this, actually. This is really bad, because I don't really care. And Kel's surprise, I don't care for the Trico line at all. I just moved Chikorita. Chikorita, sit there. This is what happens when we do things live. Thank you, Callum, by the way, in this template for marking the Pokemon, the colours of the types. Thanks. Trico's at the bottom. Never gave a crap about Trico. Never gave a crap about Grovyle. Yeah, it looks like a cooler version of Trico. Great. Never cared about Sceptile. I've never been interested in having a lizard with a bush for an arse as my Pokemon. Don't care for Mega Sceptile because it's just a Christmas tree with a 4x weakness. Wow. Then this is an easy one, actually. This one's really easy. Torchic can stay where it is because Torchic... I love Torchic. Think it's adorable. Think it's a really cute Pokemon. I actually love Combusken. Unpopular opinion, I really love Combusken. I think it's a fantastically designed Pokemon. It looks funny, but kind of cool at the same time. Don't like Blaziken. Never liked its design. It looks like a man in a chicken suit. It looks like a Kill Bill cosplay combined with a chicken. And it doesn't interest me. And, you know, Speed Boost Blaziken's just overpowered and just boring and predictable. And Mega Blaziken is just Blaziken with its wrists on fire. Wow, that's great. Whereas Mudkip is adorable. It's got a great shiny form. That's a good point as well. The Trico line and the Torchic line don't really have very impressive shinies, but Mudkip's line has great shiny Pokemon in it. I like Mudkip. Marshstomp's a bit awkward, but Swampert is incredible. Mega Swampert is an amazing Pokemon with that swift swim. It's got amazing shiny versions. It's just absolutely... That's an easy one. The Hoenn one's an easy one, which is weird because Hoenn's my least favorite region, but I can order the starters super easily. Actually, that probably makes sense because Hoenn's my least favorite region. Probably part of that is because there's only one starter that I am happy to use. So maybe it's that. So we'll just blaze straight into Gen 4 because Gen 4 is where things start getting tricky. Because actually it's not tricky at all. The tricky part with Gen 4 is which one's number 2 and which one's number 3. Because straight away, the first thing I know about Gen 4 is that my boy Piplup is straight at the top. Absolutely. Piplup lives at the top. That's where the difficulty is here. The difficulty is Chimchar versus Turtwig. Because I like Infernape more than I like Torterra. Infernape with Iron Fist is just so much more fun to use than Torterra. I don't even know Torterra's hidden ability. Is it battle armor? Is it sheer force? I honestly don't know. I would have to look it up. Let's have a look. So, yeah, so it's not even got that good of a hidden ability. Shell armor's fine. It protects against crits, but I like Turtwig as a design better. And I don't really like Chimchar. I don't like its design at all. I'm tempted to put Chimchar at the bottom, because I just think I'd be more likely if I'm doing a playthrough and the rule of the playthrough was don't use your favorite starter, then I'd pick Turtwig. I'd just go Turtwig. Even though it gets a 4 times weakness, I just prefer Turtwig. Now, a lot of what I've said would suggest, I'm sure there's a lot of people in the comments going, but you said all those negative things about Grotle and Torterra, yet you put Chimchar at the bottom. But the fact that even though I have all those kind of negative views of Grotle and Torterra compared to Monferno and Infernape, the fact that I still feel like I'd be doing a disservice to myself by putting Turtwig at the bottom suggests to me that Turtwig is the starter that I prefer. You get that? You know when it's like you flip a coin to decide something, and if you're disappointed by the result, it shows what you really wanted. The fact that I just can't put Turtwig on the bottom shows that I prefer Turtwig to Chimchar. Because I got no qualms about putting Chimchar on the bottom. It's just a monkey with its arse on fire. There's just nothing else to it. Or an ape, I guess, because it's chimpanzee, but still. Anyway, we'll move on to Gen 5. This is going to be a hard one, because with Gen 5, this is how it works for Gen 5. My favorite of the first 3 starter forms is Tepig. It's really cute. It doesn't look over-designed. It doesn't look too much like it's wearing clothes like Oshawott does, because Oshawot's literally wearing a fucking swimsuit. Second forms, though, I don't really like Pignite at all. Servine's not that interesting because it's just a long Snivy. And then Duat is a really cool-looking Pokemon. But then Samurott, for the third forms, is a bit of a shoddy design. It looks like it should be a pseudo-legendary rather than a starter. I don't really like Emboar at all. I think it's a garbage-looking Pokemon. And Serperior is a great Pokemon to use in battle. So this is a hard one, because I think I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to leave Snivy at the top, because I feel like the Snivy line as a whole is the line that I prefer. Like, I'd be more likely to train up a Snivy, especially a contrary one, up to that upper level. Oshawott. I'm going to put Oshawott... Oh, that's Piplup, mate. I'm going to put Oshawott in the middle, because I prefer Oshawott and Duat. And if I had to pick one, I'd use a Samurott over an Emboar. And as much as I love Tepig, Tepig's my favorite of those initial starters, but I just don't like its line. It gets ruined very quickly. And it's like, but Liam, it's supposed to be a fighting type pig. It's supposed to look a bit like a wrestler. And the line just ends up looking like garbage. Like, I've seen no wrestlers that look like Emboar. You could argue maybe Emboar looks a bit like Bam Bam Bigelow, but that'd be doing a disservice to the late great Bam Bam Bigelow, so I'm not even going to go with that. That's my positioning for the Gen 5s. Yeah, just Tepig at the bottom. Let's go to Gen 6, because I know Gen 6 will be a little bit trickier, I guess. Yeah, actually, Gen 6 is basically the same as Gen 5, because when I played Gen 6 for the first time, I saw Froakie back in 2013 and I was like, that's mine. That's my starter. Look at that little frog boy. Look at his little bubble scarf. That's my boy. Then it evolved into Frogadier and I was like, this is it. This is my boy. This is my Frogadier. And then it evolved into Greninja. And I get that you guys think Greninja is really cool because you guys like ninjas. And if Pokemon makes anything that's a ninja, you guys go, oh wow, it must be cool because it's a ninja and I like ninjas. One day when you're older, you'll understand that just because they make something a stereotype of something you like doesn't make it good. So just because they made Greninja into a ninja and gave it an overpowered ability, hidden ability, it doesn't make it a good Pokemon. It doesn't make it a great design. Like, it went from a bubble scarf to a tongue scarf, which doesn't make any sense. It's a completely nonsensical design change. I just don't like Greninja. I've just got no... It's not that I hate it. Like, in the past, I've said that I hate Greninja. honestly, you know, now that I'm pushing 40. Now that I'm over the age of 30, I'm kind of like, I just don't care about it enough to have an opinion of it. But, so I'm going to put Froakie... Oh, that's Fennekin. I'm going to put Froakie in the middle. Because I like Froakie and I love Frogadier. But Fennekin, I've never liked the line. Like, Fennekin's cute. It's a cute starter, much like Tepig. The minute it evolves into Braixen, I lose all interest. The minute it becomes Braixen, I'm like, this Pokemon is absolute trash. Its ability sucks as well. Like, it can steal its opponent's held item. Great. But that banks on its opponent not having a Mega Stone or a Z Crystal nowadays. So half the time you can't steal from your opponent anyway. Kind of pointless. Most of the NPCs in Pokemon don't have an item on their Pokemon. So the chances of the Magician ability actually coming in handy, almost complete zero. Braixen looks like trash unless you're a furry. Delphox looks like trash unless you're a furry. So not interested in that. Yeah, that's perfect. Whereas Chespin, I regret not giving Chespin a chance. Chespin in Generation 6, I ignored because I was like, oh, I don't really like the look of it. Now, I love the look of it. I really like its design. I even love Quilladin, and I absolutely love Chestnut. Chestnut's a great Pokemon to use, even with its 4 times weakness to flying. Really, really love Chestnut and Chespin. And seeing Chespin in the anime as well just gave me another love for it. So Chespin's definitely my favorite Gen 6 starter. That's nice and easy. Super easy. So, okay, now we'll have a look at where things are a little more difficult because there's Gen 7. Now, again, dead easy for this one. For the 3rd place, I'm going to put Rowlet there because I don't care for the Rowlet line at all. Rowlet's cute. Loved Rowlet in the trailers. Then we saw Dartrix. Then we saw the guy in the owl costume, which is Decidueye. I liked the idea when Rowlet was first being shown that it would evolve into a grass and ground type or a flying and ground type to be like a burrowing owl. But then again, obviously, it wouldn't have lost its grass typing because it's a starter Pokemon, so it would have been grass and ground, which we already had with Torterra, but I liked the idea of it being a burrowing owl, and there were some cool, like, fan-made designs coming out for it. But it got the ghost type, which is fine because it's still based on Hawaiian folklore, but just the designs of Decidueye and Dartrix just did nothing for me. I was not interested at all. So Rowlet, you can just sit at the back. The difficulty here is Popplio and Litten. But then at the same time, it's not that difficult because I was Team Popplio from the get-go. You can check my tweets from back in 2016. I was Team Popplio all the way. But then we saw Brionne. Brionne, I was still Team Popplio. Loved Brionne. Loved Torracat, but loved Brionne nonetheless. And then we saw Primarina, which is a fantastic Pokemon. Beautiful Pokemon. Nothing but good things to say about it. But we saw Incineroar. And Incineroar is an amazing Pokemon. It's got a better ability in the form of Intimidate, because Liquid Voice is great, but it's not as useful as, say, an Intimidate Pokemon. Intimidate Pokemon are very, very versatile and very, very useful. Also, in terms of signature moves, I much prefer Spirit Shackle to Sparkling Aria, because Spirit Shackle on Rowlet is better than Sparkling Aria because Spirit Shackle stops your opponent from escaping as well as doing a lot of damage. Sparkling Aria hits everybody on the field, including your ally, which is risky in itself, but also removes burns. And the only time removing a burn is useful is if your ally is burned and is a physical attacker and needs to not be burned. So you better hope that physical attacker is a water absorb Pokemon because it needs to be. Does that still cure the burn? I don't know. I don't know if water absorb Pokemon can be cured of burns by Sparkling Aria. I'm not sure, but we'll figure that out later. But the only other time is if you're removing a burn from an opponent that has the Guts ability, where the burn is powering it up, or a Facade Pokemon that's having its Facade powered up by burn. I don't see a point to Sparkling Aria. It's a really, really conditional move that only is really effective in one or two instances where you could just use Surf instead. Not really a big fan of it. Whereas Darkest Lariat, a dark type move that ignores stat changes. So that's more than perfect for this Pokemon. And of course, Incineroar's the heal Pokemon, so it's a bad guy from pro wrestling, and that tickles me perfectly because I love pro wrestling. It's arguably the thing that I love just as much as Pokemon. Even though Game Freak got what a heel is wrong, and they said that a heel would never attack an injured opponent or a weakened opponent, when in pro wrestling, a heel is dastardly, a heel is a bastard. It definitely would attack an injured opponent and would injure it to the point where the opponent can't even wrestle anymore. But we'll ignore that. But Litten's really cute, arguably as cute as Poplio. Torracat is cute as Brionne. So I definitely say Incineroar is what pushes Litten into the #1 slot for Gen 7. Definitely. Incineroar is my boy, and that makes Litten my boy as well. Poplio can sit quite comfortably in second place, and it's the first fire type that I've added. So there you go. The first fire type's banging in the first place slot. So people can't be like, rip fire types, because I've put one there now, so have that. The next one is really hard, and part of me wonders, should we even be deciding yet which our favourite starter from Gen 8 is? Have we been a bit premature here? But, I guess it's good for YouTube because it means I can put Grookey and Scorbunny and Sobble in the tags, and I can put Gen 8 starters in the tags, that jazzy stuff. But deciding which starter is my favourite of Gen 8 is really hard. And I've been saying this in streams for a while. I said it in my video, if you've not watched it already, where I talked about my initial reaction to the starters. It's really difficult because I like the designs of all three of these, and I see every single one of them having massive potential. Obviously, we don't know what's going on with any of them, with their future typings. Although, I like the idea that Scorbunny might end up being a footballer and is all about high energy, because if you read any of its information that we've been given, it's a high energy Pokemon, and that makes me lean towards thinking it's going to be a fire electric type. I know a lot of people think it's going to be firefighting because it seems to have a band-aid or a plaster here. That could just be fur. That could literally just be fur because they just wanted to add a bit of a design feature to it. It might not relate to its type at all. Other than that, it could just be because it's kind of a yellowy color. Maybe it could be a hint at it being a future fire electric type, which is it's a type we've never seen apart from Rotom Heat, as popular as that is. So I like the idea of a fire electric starter. That could be really, really cool. We haven't had a starter that's been electric type apart from Pikachu as well, which is kind of cool. So I'd really like to see fire electric. With Sobble, I think a lot of talk is it's going to be fire poison or fire dragon. I'd like to see fire dragon, but I feel like water dragon. But it might be a bit OP being water dragon. Like Palkia is water dragon and it's an absolute boss. I don't know if we'd ever get a dragon type starter, but then I guess we thought we'd never get a fairy type starter and we got Primarina. The other option people have been suggesting is that Sobble is going to become a water poison type. I don't agree with this. The reason I don't agree with this is because what people are basing this on is, oh, it's a lizard, therefore it must be poison type. I mean, from what we've seen so far, by its look, by its tail, and by the look of its hands as well, its front feet, is that it's kind of a chameleon. Like, the reason people are saying it's going to be a poison type is purely because it's a lizard and because it used acid armor effectively in the trailer. Because it was in water, it turned completely invisible in water. That could be acid armor. And even if it was acid armor, that doesn't hint at a poison type. Yes, acid armor is a poison type move and has acid in the name. That's why it's a poison type move, because it has acid in the name. But acid armor is the signature move of Vaporeon. Vaporeon, the pure water type evolution. So just because something has acid armor doesn't mean it automatically has to grow into a poison type. That's never been the case. The reason that it's got acid armor, or it's hinted that it's got acid armor, because we don't know yet, is because it went invisible. However, it could have just gone invisible because it's based on a chameleon. It has a chameleon's front feet. It has a chameleon's tail. It has the body of a chameleon. It's probably just based on a combination of a chameleon and some kind of fish. So I don't see any hints at it being a poison type. You need to think outside the box. Just because it's a lizard doesn't mean poison. Just because it turned invisible doesn't mean acid armor. But if it does mean acid armor, that doesn't mean poison type. Look at Vaporeon. Vaporeon's the one that the move was created for originally. So I don't see water poison. at all with Sobble. I've seen nothing that would indicate it. And then Water Dragon I could see it being a really cool dragon type, but I just don't. I think it would be too overpowered. I can't see Water Fairy because we just had Water Fairy, but then again, we had Firefighting immediately after Firefighting immediately after Firefighting for 3 generations in a row. So what do I know? And then for Grookey, I don't know what Grookey's typing would be. A lot of people have suggested it may, you know, keeping with the sports theme, it might, like if there is a sports theme, it may become a cricket player, because obviously it was using a bat to hit a rock. Well, it was using a stick to hit a rock, so maybe it's going to end up with a cricket bat. Although its French name suggests that it's related to music, which means it could end up being a drummer, since it was drumming on a rock, which makes more sense to me. So I like the idea. I've seen some concept art of it becoming a marching drummer, like those monkeys that you see, those monkey toys that you get, where you wind them up and one of them hits a drum or one hits cymbals together, like in Toy Story 3. I could see that being a musical monkey makes more sense. But then if you're going with the music theme, some people have said, oh, maybe Sobble will become a singer or something, and maybe Scorbunny will be like a guitarist. But the problem is we've already had a water type singing starter in the form of Primarina. Primarina was literally a pop star. So I don't know about that either. But then again, at the same time, one thing you need to remember as well is these things don't need to be themed. The Pokemon don't have to all share the same theme. They don't all have to be sports. Like with Gen 7, is an archer, a professional wrestler, and a pop star really related? You could argue, if you really twisted it, you could say that Incineroar was kind of like a brawler or some kind of hero, and obviously Decidueye is still an archer, and that Primarina is a bard maybe, but that's a real stretch, especially when Primarina I think is classified as the pop star Pokemon. I think it was pro wrestler, pop star, archer, completely unrelated to each other really when you think about it. The only ones in Gen 7 that really have a connection to each other are Primarina and Incineroar, because you could argue pop stars and pro wrestlers are types of celebrity, but I don't know any celebrity archers, so that doesn't really work. Just because these Pokemon are the same generation of starters doesn't mean they have to be themed the same. It could be that Scorbunny is based on sports, what's his face, Grookey is based on a musician, and maybe Sobble is just a chameleon. Maybe Sobble is just based on a chameleon and doesn't have any other character traits other than that. It's more than possible. You guys seem to make up patterns that don't exist, basically. That's what seems to happen. They don't have to be linked. They don't have to be the same. They don't have to do the same lore. Arguably, it's more interesting if they're all different, unique Pokemon instead of them fitting a theme, in my opinion. Because I don't think the fact that we had a magician, a paladin, and a mage, a paladin, and a ninja or an assassin, I guess, in Generation 6, I don't think that mattered. It didn't make me care about any of them anymore, the fact that they were linked. So I don't know about the links, but in getting back to the topic at hand, which is better? I like the look of all 3 of them, because Grookey's adorable. Like, I'm leaning towards Grookey. Scorbunny's really cute and looks like it would be a really good member of the anime, and Sobble looks like the obvious Pokemon that Ash Ketchum's going to bring out of its shell as it grows and evolves into its final form. In fact, I could see Scorbunny being Ash's starter that never evolves. I could see Grookey getting to second form, and that's about it, if it evolves at all. And Sobble will be Ash's Pokemon that he fully evolves. That's how I see it. That's my prediction for that. I'm going to say, out of all of them, I like how cute Sobble is, and I think it's got loads of potential to get a really cool final evolution. Oh, but I don't know if I like it enough. I might leave these as they are, because I really like Sobble, although the thing that's annoying me about Sobble at the moment, like, people can enjoy what they want, and that's fine. But all I see with Sobble is people going, oh my god, Sobble is my cute boy, I have to protect him. And it's like, it's a Pokemon. You're going to use it in battle, and it's going to get stronger, and you're going to use it in battle some more. So that's not really you protecting him. That's you throwing him to the dogs and, like, making him fight for himself. So I don't get this whole, like, people are just trying really hard to be cute by going, oh, you're my cute boy, I have to protect him. Doesn't do it for me. I'm not really interested in a weak Pokemon, I guess. Obviously, it'll end up growing into something huge and massive, probably, and that's fine. I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. Scorbunny seems to have loads of personality. Sobble's only personality traits we've seen so far is, I'm really cute and small and everyone wants to protect me. And I'm just like, fuck that. Scorbunny looks like it's going to have bags of character, bags of personality, be a really funny Pokemon. And I definitely think I'll put it in second place, purely because I just like the look of Grookey more. Grookey looks like it has a lot of charm and personality to it. I don't normally pick grass starters because I very much hate the grass type. Like, I hate a type that starts off with 5 weaknesses. You got flying, you got bug, you got poison, you got fire, you got ice. So from the get-go, Grookey has 5 weaknesses. Sobble has 2, grass and electric, and Scorbunny has 3 because it has ground, water, and rock. So I wouldn't normally pick the grass type because you're already at a limitation, and then even more so if you had a second type. Like if Grookey became grass dark, it's 4 times weak to bug then. If it becomes grass ground or grass flying, it would become 4 times weak to ice. It's just got so many possibilities of becoming really, really weak, and I hate that. But for some reason, I'm leaning towards Grookey, and I really, really want Grookey to be my starter. Obviously, this will change, or might change. It's subject to change when the Gen 8 final evolutions are revealed, but we'll see. We'll see about that. We'll see what happens. But now comes the difficult part, because now I got to decide from this line of 8 first-place Pokemon, Squirtle, Totodile, Mudkip, Piplup, Snivy, Chespin, Litten, and Grookey, which is my favorite. Of these, Snivy, I only really picked Snivy because I don't like the other 2 from Gen 5, I guess. So Snivy's out. Mudkip I like, but Gen 3 is my least favorite generation, so I'm less likely to play with a Mudkip half the time. Like, I don't really build much of a bond with a Mudkip. Chespin, I guess Chespin I would rule out because I only really like Chespin because, again, I don't like the other 2 from Gen 6, unfortunately. Grookey, I'm not going to count as my favorite starter because it's too early to tell if it's my favorite because I don't know much about it. Squirtle, I'm going to rule out because I feel like the only reason Squirtle is on the list at all is because there's a certain amount of nostalgia, because Generation 1 was my first game, and there's nothing wrong with nostalgia. You can like things. By the way, let's just get this clear. For people who hate, like, people who like Generation 1, I won't say Gen 1ers, because Gen 1ers are people who denounce anything other than Gen 1. Like, every time a Pokemon game comes out, they're like, well, it's not Gen 1, so I don't like it. And that's trash. That's a garbage opinion. You're an asshole. But I want to make it clear to the people of the internet, it's still okay to like Gen 1, because I like Gen 1, and it doesn't change who I am as a person. You're allowed to like Gen 1. Gen 1 has a lot of things to like about it. It has a lot of things that can be criticized, but it still has a lot of likable Pokemon, still a lot of likable stories in it, still a lot of likable characters. So it's okay to like Gen 1. It's okay for your friend to like Gen 1 without you having any reason to berate them for it. And it's okay to like things based purely on nostalgia. If you like a Pokemon that's on this screen right now, and not because you use it in battle, not because you think it's cute, but just because it's the first Pokemon you ever used, that's okay. It's all right to do that. That's not a problem. But in terms of Squirtle, I feel like it wouldn't be where it is if it wasn't for nostalgia, and I feel like that just gives it a little bit of a knock. That leaves me with Totodile, Piplup, and Litten, and I'm gonna rule out Totodile because I just don't tend to lean towards the Generation 2 starters anyway. If I'm thinking of starter Pokemon, I don't go, oh, Totodile. You know what I mean? It doesn't have that impressive of a shiny either, so it's not that interesting, but then neither does Piplup, and Litten's isn't great. So I guess that's not a real factor there. But I feel like I don't gravitate towards Totodile quite as much as I do Piplup or Litten. And I guess second place would go to Litten, just because I'm more likely to pick Piplup, because Empoleon's incredible. I didn't really give any reasoning for Piplup, I just realized, but it's because Piplup's amazing. Piplup's adorable, absolutely. You know what, this is a good place to put Piplup as number 1, because Piplup, I love it, it's adorable, it's cute, it's just, it grows into a steel type, which gives it like 9+ resistances. It's just absolutely fantastic. I think Empoleon has like at least 10 resistances, I think. but it's just such a great starter. It gets Defiant, which is it's a great ability. Even though Empoleon is probably better built as a special attacker, building it as a physical one with Defiant, bear in mind, if Empoleon had Defiant and went up against an Incineroar that had Intimidate, it means that Empoleon would get a +1 attack boost because Defiant would take the -1 attack boost and add 2 to it. So that's pretty banging. So I'm gonna go with the Piplup line. Piplup is my favorite starter. Out of all 24, Piplup's my favorite. Absolutely. 100% unequivocally. So I have to I keep using this word. I've used it in a couple of videos. Unequivocally. That's the word. Unequivocally. Wait. Define unequivocally.
Unequivocally means in a way that leaves no doubt.
Yeah, unequivocally. Unequivocally, Piplup is my absolute favourite. So well done, Piplup. You're a good lad. Generation 4 and still going strong, mate. Now I have to tag 3 Pokemon YouTubers that I want to see do this. I'm going to pick people who I don't think have already been tagged, and I hope they've not already been tagged because that would suck. I'm going to tag Virtual Accomplishment. I'm going to tag Ozzy Mitsu. And I'm going to tag Tricky Wee. Let's go with that. Let's see if those 3 A haven't done it already, haven't already been tagged, and B will do it. Let's go with that. So I'm going to tag you 3. I'll link to Callum's video down below so you can go there and you can go and get, if you want to do this yourself, you can go and get the template that we're using right here because this is pretty banging. Makes it really easy to use. And it's just a nice fun video to make. So I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, of course, hit the like button. And of course, comment down below with your lists of your favourite starters. Remember, if someone likes a starter that you don't bother berating them. Don't waste your breath. Because first of all, they don't care if you don't like what they like. Because they like what they like. And that's what matters to them. Secondly, you just come across as a big arsehole. Like, if I put... if someone puts their list and they put Squirtle at the top, Squirtle's not that good, I don't think you should like Squirtle at all. No one gives a shit. You're a big arsehole. So don't be a twat. Just put your list and fuck off. That's my advice to anyone who thinks of starting arguments in the comments with people based on their favourite starter. Because it's not important, mate. Just relax. But anyway, subscribe if you're new, and until next time, I'm Ace Trinilium. Keep on training.